It's time for Lindsay's essay of the day. Yay!
Brought to you by We Should Write, right?
Back when my now husband, Seamus, and I were dating, he was working on this show called Trippin'. Trippin' all over the world. It was essentially an environmental documentary hosted by Cameron Diaz, where she flew around the world in a private jet with her good friends while being environmentally aware. I said what I said. So, Seamus was on the crew for the show, and one evening I picked him up at the airport around 7 p.m. I was in sweats and a ponytail and no makeup, as I had no plans to do anything other than grab him and go home. When he got in the car, he said, "Oh, by the way, I got to know one of the guys on this leg of the show, and it's his birthday, so we're going to meet him for a quick drink in Beverly Hills." I was admittedly annoyed, as I was not dressed to go anywhere, but he assured me it was a low-key night at a dive bar. What he failed to tell me, and what I discovered upon walking to the back of the bar, was that the birthday we were celebrating was for his new friend, Bobby, a.k.a. Kid Rock. So there we were, with Kid Rock, producer Rick Rubin, and a handful of Playboy bunnies, Seamus and me, in sweats, a ponytail, and no makeup. To put it mildly, I was not amused. I ordered a cocktail, a stiff one, and then several more. An hour or two later, Bobby, a.k.a. Kid Rock, says, "Hey, let's all go back to my room at the Beverly Hills Hotel." And several cocktails in, I now thought that was a great idea. More cocktails at the hotel, and I find myself in a conversation with Sir Kid Rock, going on and on about how I'm a singer. "Well, sing something for me," he said. "Sure. What do you want me to sing?" I said far too confidently. What he did next was equal parts manipulative and brilliant. He told me to sing the Star-Spangled Banner. Now, this was a long time ago, before I would have called myself a professional singer. I've sang my whole life, but this was me in my mid-20s, where I was yet to make it my full-time living and also had not performed the national anthem at that time. These days, I could do that song in my sleep. I performed it so much, but that song is not intuitively melodic, has a massive range, and he knew this. For someone so drunkenly confident as I was, it was really a perfect song request for the audience's comedic entertainment purposes. I proceeded to start singing the song way too high, and even he said, "You started too high. You should start over in a lower key." But no, "I got this," I said. I proceeded to sing the entire song, well aware that many Playboy bunnies were looking at me very concerned. But I didn't stop. I couldn't stop. I was equal parts in the show of my life and in my worst nightmare. Seamus was in another room at that point, and so he was unaware of the predicament I had found myself in. But he walked out toward the end as I finished, and then proceeded to start bawling and run as fast as I could out of the room, with Seamus chasing me. The next morning, I went to work at Star 98.7 radio station in LA, where I was an on-air producer, and I laid under my desk, fully green, mortified, and hungover. Now, this story does have a redemption. Cut to about 2 years later, I found myself at the Roosevelt Hotel in Hollywood with Seamus for a wrap party for a Jackass movie he had just worked on. As we were checking in, we heard someone yell from across the way, "Hey, Seamus!" And I quickly realized it was Bobby, a.k.a. Kid Rock. I quickly set my drink down. I was not about to end up like the last time. At some point in the evening, a few of us were invited down to a basement in the hotel that was under renovation. They wheeled out a baby grand piano, put a candelabra on top of it, handed a bottle of Cristal champagne to everyone in the room, and each person sat around and listened to Kid Rock, who plopped himself on the piano bench. I stood quietly across from him at the other end of the piano, next to this beautiful girl. He began playing and singing, impressively well, by the way, and the girl next to me leaned over and said, "I remember you." I about died and turned red. Then she said, "You should go sit by him and try again. I know you're better than that." And she winked at me. I will never forget that. Women supporting women is the most powerful thing I've ever seen to this day. And then he tickled those ivories with the beginning of a tune that transported me back to my childhood. When I was a kid, I would spend time in the summer with my great Aunt Inez and great Uncle Roy in Ardmore, Oklahoma. And we would frequent a restaurant called Two Frogs, where this older African-American gentleman would sing, and he would let me stand on the piano and sing with him. Blueberry Hill was the song I remember singing amongst others. With that, as Kid Rock started playing Blueberry Hill, I tiptoed over to the piano bench, scooted myself beside him, and we began to sing together Blueberry Hill. He looked at me, smiled, and winked, and with that, my confidence returned. Years later, when I was singing downstairs in the front room at Tootsie's on Broadway in Nashville, in walked Kid Rock one night with his entourage. They slid into the VIP booth, tipped the band, requested songs, and I definitely shined in my element that evening. Performing at Tootsie's gave me both some of my most fun and confident and also most chaotic memories, but that was definitely a bright night. At one point, Bobby, aka Kid Rock, yelled out, "You sing like an alien!" I didn't understand that comment, but I thought it seemed very rude, so I marched right over and told him so, and he said, "I said you sing like an angel, you idiot." That makes more sense. And to this day, "You sing like an angel, you idiot" is my favorite compliment.